Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hi, everybody. Jackie Woodside here, the founder of the Conscious Living Podcast. And I'm so glad that you found us for another episode to think deeply about how we are living our lives, how life is living us. What are we living for? What are we being lived by? And to dig in to this topic of awakening and conscious living. And today I'm really excited to have an extraordinary teacher with me today who I was just telling him before we started, has a fund of knowledge that I know nothing about. And in the space of conscious living, it's not very often that I can say that, actually, because I've been around this work for 30 years. I know consciousness and conscious living really, really well. But my guest today, Lee Davy, is a leader in global health, an author, a retreat and seminar leader, and workshop host. And his fund of knowledge that I'm referring to is around the body and breath. And he's an expert in breath work and leads all kinds of shorter and longer retreats and seminars around the topic of breath work. So I am so excited today, Lee, to dive into this topic. So thank you for your time, your generosity, for being here with me and all of the Conscious Living Podcast listeners as we just really learn from you today about this emerging field and topic. Emerging field, isn't that funny? We've all been breathing since the beginning of time. All we have is the breath, but it is both and. It is also an emerging field. So welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, Lee Davy.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. It's interesting when you mention, you talk about the breath and how we've been doing it since the beginning of time. And I'll often ask people, do you breathe fully? For example, my dad would say, I breathe every day. And it's like, but do you? Do we? And I don't really, we've never really been taught how to breathe. And
Right.
Most of us are short, shallow, breathers. And you can even, if I were to just try to speak when I'm taking those, like, it sounds labored, sounds distressed, it sounds anxious, but when you start to breathe in fully, diaphragmically with those deep belly breaths, and then you add intention, and you add, length to the sessions, and you change the speeds, and I mean, there are just so many benefits, and both physiological and neurological, and I guess from a quantum physics perspective, or a quantum science perspective, and actually unifying with the field, there's all kinds of beautiful things that can happen with that during a session as well. So it's a really, really powerful, profound tool.
Wonderful. That's what I want to totally dive into. So, Lee, one of the things that immediately drew me to you is your Canadian accent. And then, when we first spoke on the phone, I was like, oh, this guy's from Canada. And as I told you, spend my summers just a mile from Brockville, Ontario, and I can pick a Canadian accent a mile away. But then I went on to learn that you're living in Mexico. So just tell our listeners just a brief introduction about your path, your journey. And I know you've done a lot more than leading workshops and writing books, but just tell people a little bit about your journey and what led you to be a breathwork expert.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually been a really long journey in this lifetime.
You're too young to have had a long journey.
I remember asking questions at 13 years old.
Wow.
What is this? Who am I? Why do I feel so alone and alien? And and that was the first time I actually remember, now looking back, and that has led me on this, it's been now 31 years since then, that of self-discovery, from the physical world, and movement and nutrition, and understanding, the neurophysiological aspects of kind of who we are, into a multitude of plant medicines, to meditations, to breath work. You name it, I've probably tried it at least once. And the whole time, I was just searching for myself, more of understanding more of who I truly am, beyond the illusion, beyond the perception of the senses, that is so convincing that, I am the ego persona of Lee. And it's just not the case. When we dig a little bit deeper, we find out that there's so much more to us, and that it really does go far beyond um, what we've been programmed to believe, or even uh, think we know about who we are.
I want to hear a lot about breath work, but I think that's so rich what you just said. Kind of getting to know yourself beyond the programmed operations or the programming of the ego. Say more about that. What are you discovering? What have you discovered about the truth of who you really are?
Truly, I believe we're pure love. I believe we're
Mm,
infinite beings, with limitless potentiality,
mm,
um, and on from all aspects of the self, the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical aspects, the matrix within which um, really holds our spirit, and within which, we the that highest aspect of us really resides. It truly is limitless. And there are these confines that are kind of placed on us within the constructs of the mind, and this dimension, or this reality, that I truly feel, as we continue to unlock, you know a deeper understanding of and connection to how to operate in these higher realms, if you will, or higher frequencies, then we truly unlock those capacities of our limitless nature. And I feel like we're coming back online, and things like our intuitive, psychic, healing, gifting, all of those things are, you know, have been lying dormant within us, and now's the time when a lot of those things are coming back online.
mhm. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to push back a little bit, Lee, and I do want to get to the
Sure.
breathwork topic, but let's, so you say our limitless nature, and I hear a lot of people using that language in the conscious living world. I use it myself at times, but let me push back. I'm 58 years old. I love playing women's basketball. I've played my whole life. I Up until the pandemic shut down all of the athletics and senior athletics, I was still playing 3 or 4 times a week. Play for the Massachusetts Miracles women's senior basketball team. I played for the Northern Virginia senior women's basketball team. Played all my whole life. I'm 58 years old, and I'm never going to, no matter how limitless I think I am, go to a tryout at the WNBA and become a professional basketball player. So when you're saying limitless, how are you using that word, and what does it mean?
Um, I truly feel like there are no limits to what we can do. Now, if that's not a goal of yours, or never was, um, then you know perhaps you're not willing to do what it would have taken to actually achieve that,
So wait, so
right?
you're saying if today I decided, you know what, I really did miss my calling, I want to go be a WNBA basketball player, you're saying that would be possible?
Why not?
Because I'm 58, because my knees don't move like they used to, because I'm not as fast as I was when I was 25 or 18, or
Aren't those
because I'm
all
not because I'm not 6'4", right? I mean, for WNBA, these women, they're really big, 7 feet, 6'11". They're really big. So
aren't those all programs?
I don't know. That's what I want us to dive into.
I look at it all as, yeah, they're all programs, right? Like
So that's a
the
program.
I believe so. Like, so I was always, and I think part of what got me started on my journey was, this the story of, okay, we're born, we go to school for so many years, then we get a job, and we have to stay at the same job for 40 or 50 years. Maybe vacationing once or twice a week for, or a year over that time,
Mhm.
um, to retire in our, early early 60s or 70s, to enjoy the twilight years if our bodies have held up enough, and then we die and that's it.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's what I call the
that
default life, living the default life, the life that we
and
were
that
just prescribed.
Absolutely, and part of that is like, oh, I'm getting older, I can't do what I used to do. It's like, I don't subscribe to that, because that's a mindset. I push myself as hard as I ever have in the gym. I still train 5 to 6 days a week.
That's
A
awesome.
lot of my friends have stopped. I'm 44 now. I should be slowing down. I feel better than I ever have.
That's
So
great.
is I don't know. I, I see what you're saying in terms of like obviously there are levels, but I don't know. I feel like if we continue to push ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, then we're
Mm.
going to continue to redefine our boundaries. And
So
it's
that
4 minute
yeah,
mile, right?
that
Can't
that's
run the
just
4 minute.
great. Yeah. Yeah,
Well, it
that's
was
just
not
so great because most people don't push themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I guess that's, bringing us back to the topic, conscious living. When people
mm,
are living life unconsciously, there's almost no, if you will, pushing yourself. And I know you don't mean that in the efforting and striving and it has to be difficult kind of way, but expanding yourself.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how does
What
this, because I'm dying to get into this topic, how does breath work support all of this? And tell me about your work in breath work and how that, yeah, just what it is and what you're doing with people and how it showed up in your life, how it impacts your life. I have so many questions about it.
Well, so I've created my own method called the
Yeah.
5D breathwork. And it literally, when I discover a tool, or a piece of my puzzle that makes me feel better or connects me more, or whatever it is, I take that tool, and I learn it. I become it. I do my best to embody it, from the inside out. And that was, the first time I did breath work was probably about 8 years ago. And I just remember, like, I got the like the tingling sensations, and the hands can kind of freeze. It's known as tetany. um I had all that, and like, but I was hooked, and since then it's literally just been playing with the breath, and different variations of it and different styles. And aside from that one session, I've never really like taken any courses or anything. It was just something that I'm like, hey, like, this is a tool. And just kind of an addendum to that, I truly feel like, we're not necessarily here to learn anything new this time around. We're here to actually remember what we've learned
Mm,
in so many other lifetimes. And so, that's honestly the way that I learn most of the stuff that I do, is just by diving in and experiencing it and experimenting on myself. Um, and so through all of that, the 5D method was born. And it's quite a psychedelic experience for people. You know,
can you tell me what it is? What are the 5Ds and how does it work?
yeah. So it's a I would say a layered is the best way to put it method.
Mhm,
So as the facilitator, I'm actually breathing with my clients or like one-on-one sessions or small groups. So as soon as you get into a cyclical style of breathing, after very little period of time, the intellect, the thinking mind starts to shut down. So whereas like most methods, it might be okay, breathe, right? And so there's a coaching, but the coach is not breathing with. And so because
yes,
I'm actually
mhm,
breathing with you, my thinking mind's shutting down at the same time, and so
mhm.
I'm the method actually is whatever is coming through me in any given moment, right? So it's
Wow,
not like a set style of like, okay, we're going to do this breath first and this one second and this one third. It's different every single time. So based on the energy of the group, as well as the intentions that I set, and then whatever's coming through. I use auto suggestion, right? So as the thinking mind shuts off, leaves the subconscious mind wide open. And in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he
mhm,
talks about auto suggestion as the third step to riches, right? And so planting little seeds in the subconscious mind and literally taking people on a journey of, if it is limitlessness, or if it is, healing the physical body, or if it is, tuning into abundance. It's like planting those seeds to take people on this journey to, whatever the session, whatever the focus of the session is actually on. um, I use tonal activations to unlock we've got 12 universal energy centers that sit outside of the physical form. And so I'll use these tonal activations to unlock the energy centers. We'll use some like silent mantra style of work as well. So it's a very kind of multi-dimensional. And then we're playing with, you know, there's a maybe 11, 12, 13 various combinations of the breath, right? And I'm also playing with the speeds and the locks of the um, abdominals as well. Sometimes we're holding on the exhale, sometimes we're holding on the inhale, sometimes at the heart, sometimes at the brain, at the pineal gland, right? So it's the whole thing is just this mashup of, and turns into typically quite a psychedelic journey for people. Where I've had people, who have met relatives that have passed on, and connected with them, who've, seen lights and colors and geometries and animals, and I mean, you name it. You know, people have expressed that they're, a lot of people say it's very similar to a 5-MeO DMT experience.
uh, I'm sorry, what is that experience? Say that again.
5-MeO DMT
What
experience.
is that what does that mean?
So 5-MeO DMT is a medicine that comes from Sonoran desert toad. It's called bufo, and so it's when you smoke this, it's the most powerful psychedelic known to
Okay.
known to us. And so when you smoke that, you go on this like journey where you're connected to, like, you literally become everything. And
Mhm.
so these are the breath has kind of the same
Wow.
capabilities as that, plus the release of, you know there's all kinds of feel good hormones and endorphins and beautiful chemistry that the pineal gland releases, and antioxidants, and it's just such a beautiful beautiful medicine. I look at it as a medicine,
Mhm.
especially
Mhm.
like, what's happening all around the world right now, to be able to, you know for virtually no cost, deep intentionally breathe and have the body's natural internal pharmacy come to life. What could be better than that?
It's amazing. So you talked about working with your clients. Do you meet people like for a breathwork session, or do you meet with people over time? And do people come to you because they're having some kind of a concern, a physical concern, an emotional concern? Like how does that work?
Yeah, all the above. So I offer like regular weekly sessions here
Hmm.
in Zoom.
Hmm.
I've also been doing just like an online one every Tuesday that I started at the beginning of the whole pandemic, and so I've been offering that, and that's something that I do for free. It's just something that I feel like if people can you know take 45, 50 minutes once a week, and I'm able to provide a little bit of peace and maybe a little bit of a health benefit, then I wanted to do that. So um
Mm.
but yeah, it's I've had people book one-on-ones or small groups. um I've developed like a full day deep dive where we're doing like we go into all the science and um you know 3 or 4 breathing sessions and a bunch of meditations, and so that's a really powerful day for people. Or it's an integral part of any retreats that I have. I have a retreat called the Hero's Journey coming up in February here in Tulum. So
Nice, nice. I
and we,
just reminded me, I've got friends who run retreats in Mexico. I'm going to have to find out where they are and see if you guys are anywhere near each other.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so and let me ask you, what I mean, it sound like a silly question, but I want to be really helpful and concrete to our listeners. What are the benefits of doing breath work and learning to use the breath differently?
Mhm. There's so many. I mean, um, just the cyclical nature of the breathing alone is blowing off carbon dioxide,
Hmm.
and um, most of the acid or the inflammation in our systems comes from carbonic acid. So when you start to lower that, you're automatically lowering inflammation, increasing alkalinity. And if we did nothing else, virus disease can't live in an alkaline oxygen rich environment. But
Mm.
that's not all. So I mentioned some of the holds. So when we hold on the exhale, so we would, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, hold on the exhale, no breathing, no air. Now, because the CO2 levels are lower, you're going to be able to hold your breath for a lot longer than you would anticipate. But the oxygen in the system is no longer free floating. It actually binds to your red blood cells. And
Mm.
so this is happening, it's like the stem cells, the cells themselves, proteins are starting to repair and recycle, right? And so it's the start of cellular rejuvenation. There's all kinds of chemistry. I mean, you flood the body with adrenaline, with endocannabinoids and opioids. The the mitochondria and the microtubules specifically. So the um, mitochondria will increase in number, and they are basically what how we produce energy. So it'll give you more energy if you make this a regular practice. The microtubules are the little hair-like fibers inside of the cells, and they're responsible for cell communication. But they actually hold on to um, like you could look at it as toxicity, and um, so the breath will actually liberate that energy, which allows those microtubules to vibrate much faster. And if they're vibrating faster, then cell communication is more efficient, and it allows the cells to literally emit more light.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, those
Yeah.
are
So
extraordinary benefits. So, what kind of practice do you recommend for people? Like a daily practice, a once a week practice? What do you recommend?
daily, daily, daily. Yeah.
Really? For how long?
I mean, if you did, it doesn't have to be a an hour session every day. When I offer sessions, I like to be 40, 50 minutes because I can really take people on a journey that way. But if you did 20 minutes a day, you'd be golden. You'd have all the physiological benefits, and it's, as I said earlier on, like it shuts off the thinking mind, so you're
Yeah.
bringing more coherence to the brain as well, and you're just able to live more in the parasympathetic and that rest and digest space rather than being in a stress state all the time.
Wow. All right, 20 minutes a day. So I know people are going to want to, kind of follow you, learn more about how to work with you. Do you have any place online where people can go kind of learn how to do a 20-minute practice a day? And if not, how can people get in touch with you? So it's a both and, not either or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've actually got I launched a teacher training
Nice.
for the 5D method, and a part of that is to share just a masterclass, share a session with people to see if it's right for them. So that's at 5dbreathwork.com. And otherwise, you can connect with me through my personal site, Lee hyphen Davy DAVY.com.
All right, great. I'll be sure to drop those links so people have them and can know how to get in touch with you. I am going to make a commitment. And do you still do the Tuesdays, the Tuesday free breathwork session?
Yeah, every Tuesday, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, yeah. Be sure you do that, and would love to be able to do that. And I'll drop that for our listeners as well, so people can get more breath work and more consciousness, more. I just love all the things that you said about how it impacts the body, and it's so
Mhm.
simple. I guess just a couple last questions, and then we'll wrap up. If it's this simple and so powerful, why don't more people know about it or are doing it? Where have we where have we lost these traditions over the years that people don't do this any longer? Because I know it's an ancient practice. It's not a new practice. It's ancient, but it's a little fringe. If you say to people, "I'm going to go do my breath work," they would look at you a little skance.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've heard that question, for in different ways for different reasons, and the whole, like, I think the same question could be asked for, um, if you knew you could change your life by changing your mindset, would you do it?
Right, right,
You know,
right.
I feel like most people don't think it'll work, or most people, think it's like, really, it can't
It's
be
not
that.
possible. Right, right. I think a lot of people think it's not possible.
Yeah, so I'm not even going to
Yeah,
try.
yeah.
That that would be one perspective, and the other is, I think um, humans by design are a little lazy, maybe, and
Yeah,
I don't want to, you know, and some might take offense to being called lazy, but let's use comfortable, right? And
yeah.
and comfort isn't always optimal.
Right.
It's like being in the known because it's comfortable versus going into the unknown because it's uncomfortable.
Right. But that's where you grow.
That's where you grow. Yep.
Yeah, exactly right. Awesome. And last thing before we wrap up today, we're in a really fascinating time of human evolution. What's your hope for humanity moving forward, 2022 and beyond?
Honestly, I have full faith. I feel like we're in a very transformative period,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and some might call it ascension. And I truly feel, and part of my work beyond the breath work has been, I've really been traveling the world the last almost decade, the last 8 years since I left Toronto, and connecting with communities and the spiritual community, if you will. But in that are organizations are solutions for every sector, every subsector of society. And all the solutions are here, whether
Yeah.
it's new finance, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's new technology, you name it, it's already here. It's already been
Yeah.
invented. It's already being worked on. Um, and now it's just about us coming together to actually implement it. And I
Mm.
truly believe we're on that path to, it's like and Buckminster Fuller is probably the most famously quoted in saying, we instead of fighting against an old system or structure, let's build a new one that makes the existing one obsolete. And that's
Uh,
literally what's happening now. It's you can, some eyes are focused on, and they've done a very good job. I would suggest to turn off the news and TV, but because that keeps you perpetually focused on and in fear and in confusion and, oh my God, like, is the world going to end? This world, the old world, is,
mm.
because the new world is being built, and many of those connections, many of those people, many of those solutions, you know, are here. It's happening simultaneously,
Yeah.
right? And so, depending on where your focus is, things could get worse before they get better. Or if you just turn and look, at where the solutions are and connect, and I'm happy to connect you to them, if you're listening, um, because they are all here. And the more we focus on the solutions, it's like, I'm aware that the problem, I'm focused on them, they're not going to get any better. Whereas I can be aware that the problems are here and focused on the solutions, and then that's how we build this new world, and that's what's happening.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Lee. Thank you so, so much for your contribution to the Conscious
Mm.
Living podcast. I look forward to having you on again and being in your breathwork sessions. And I'm really, really looking forward to everybody hearing your message about just the simplicity of returning to the breath. So thank you so much for being with us.
Such an honor, Jackie. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no.